Hello and welcome to this episode of Video Game Aesthetic Study, with this mini-series focusing on how the Metroid games build their foreboding atmosphere. Today we're looking at Super Metroid on the SNES. So previously, Metroid and Metroid 2 have begun to show us the basics of building the atmosphere of dread in a Metroid game. Both times we've had a black background, unsettling music, and long stretches of enemies or a tough boss where you're far away from a safe point. Super Metroid continues this and begins introducing elements of gore and horror into the series, as well as thrilling action pieces. Using the advanced processing capabilities on a more powerful system allowed Super Metroid to be incredibly rich, deep, varied, and believable in its aesthetics of the environments in the game. With such an epic narrative quality, the game gets a chance to breathe in certain areas, and this means that each area now has a more structured introduction, what I like to call chapters. We'll quickly breeze through most of the areas, as there's one particular chapter in the game which I'd like to focus on, which I believe is the culmination of all the best techniques for creating this dreading, foreboding atmosphere. Ceres is our opening chapter, and it takes us into a quiet and hazy, foreshadowing intro, taking you through a dark blue collection of tunnels, past an unsettling scene of dead scientists sprawled across the floor, ending with a creepy intro into the destructive battle against Ridley, causing a tense and thrilling race back to the start. There's no music here, so everything is just the hum of electronics from the station itself. Then we descend onto the moody and brooding surface landing of Crateria, where a storm is raging, and storms are a classic trope to signify something bad's on the horizon. Simple Low Strings is the only soundtrack, along with the sound of rain. From here we go into dark tunnels, where there's nothing but small creatures that scatter as you approach. Then we go into dusty Original Turian from the first game, which leads into Original Brinstar, where cold, calculating spotlights watch your every move. It's only on your return through Original Turian that everything begins switching on. Oh, also, here's the first horror factor, which is Torizo's head dripping. Brinstar has a relatively basic opening. There's no dread-filled atmosphere as you move around this area, and it's actually pretty upbeat. There are a couple of unsettling moments, like the boss fight against Spore Spawn with its creepy piano soundtrack and the sickening, undulating movements of the creature itself. Then there's that dead soldier before the boss room to Kraid. Norfair has all the classics, a dark background, menacing drums. Another horror factor here is where Crocomire is dropped into the boiling lava and his animated skeleton makes one last jump scare. Then there's that thrilling moment where you have to outrun some rising lava. That's really cool. When you reach lower Norfair, you're so overpowered that fear, foreboding and isolation have been substituted for thrills and action, though there are still hints of horror here and there. Contrasting hot, dry Norfair is dark, wet Meridia, with its rising, tense soundtrack and dark visuals, sand pits that suck you in, your first look at a Metroid clone, and a rather jarring, quiet boss fight against Botswoon before squaring up against Dragon. And even in the ending chapter in Turian with its low, watery, bell-like bass line, there's still room to experience yet further quiet, menacing threats when you come across the Super Metroid room. As strong as you've become, there are indestructible creatures that are withered, dry and dead, a Torizo that's been defeated, and then you suddenly become powerless to defeat the Super Metroid. And all this is echoed in the Mother Brain fight, followed by your final thrilling escape from the planet. Okay, so there's one place I actually want to focus on, and it's roughly the midpoint of the game, and that's the haunted wrecked ship. This wrecked ship is a threshold. At this point in the game, you'll probably have enough power-ups to just see you through a tough encounter. Since facing Torizo, it's been a pretty steady pace of action, exploration, and powering up. You save your game, you make your way to that new place you've yet to explore because you didn't have the grapple beam, and you just got the power bombs. You get across that body of water, use a super missile to open a door to this big metal-looking structure, and then dark, empty, and quiet. There's something almost alien about this place. The more you explore, the more you see how little is open to you, with doors all powered down. It's not that you don't have the skill or firepower, it's that the environment is against you. Save and map stations don't work, and there are countless defunct robots laying around. You haven't seen this before in the game. And stand still for too long, and ghostly entities will appear, and their cries of pain is the only time you hear that sound effect in the game. This whole area seems out of place. Its cold metallic structure contrasts all the organic areas you've been through on the planet so far. The last time you encountered a dark, quiet, metallic environment was the space station from the beginning of the game. Maybe this thing is a crashed spaceship. Maybe whatever's here isn't going to be friendly or easy to face. When you eventually find the only room you can enter, aside from the save and map rooms, the pre-fight music comes in, and you're like, oh man. Because remember, the last time you saved was all the way back in Brinstar. If you die here, you're going to have to retread all that way again with the meticulous timing involved. Let's hope this boss is easy. The way it introduces itself is through its blue fire eyes, rotating around in a hypnotic manner, then to truly reveal its ghostly appearance. It can only be hit when its mouth is open, where its eye is hidden. At certain points he'll disappear completely, suddenly reappearing right next to you. I'd say this was a pretty horrifying boss design, with the stakes pushed higher thanks to the distance since the last save, making this fight really edgy. It's deliberately tough for this reason, and it rounds off this whole area nicely. And once you're done, the power is restored, lights come on, doors open, stations work, and it's business as usual. I wonder if any scary space stations will be used in future Metroid games. Thanks to my patrons for helping me make this video. Leave some comments down below on how you think Super Metroid creates its atmosphere, and consider supporting me on Patreon if you want to see more videos from this channel more than once every 2 months. See you next time with Metroid Fusion.